Hi, my name is Jeff McDonald. I am the Global Ambassador for NIM Group Limited, and we have two blockchain technologies that I represent. One is the NIM blockchain, the original blockchain, which launched in March of 2015, and the second blockchain is Symbol, which has a launch date of February 2021. And I'm going to talk today about decentralized identity. I hope by the end of today's talk, you will also be convinced that decentralized identity is going to be as big as I think it's going to be. And I'm going to try to talk about 5 different points. The first being that names and identity are important. I think this kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to really emphasize just how important I believe they are. The second is that blockchain is uniquely qualified to be able to handle names and identity in a way that other technologies are not. The third is that decentralized identity is not a killer app, but it is a requirement for the killer apps to take place in the future. And also I want to mention that big finance has identity services and blockchain really doesn't, not integrated in the way that big finance does. And so, really we want to question how disruptive can blockchain be if it's not offering the same level of services that big finance does. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the tech. It's almost there, but not quite there in being able to offer a robust and wonderful solution for decentralized identity. So let's talk about blockchain for a second. Blockchain, like I said before, is uniquely qualified to be able to handle decentralized identity in a way that hasn't ever been done before. Right now, mainly identity services are done with centralized services. But what is blockchain good for? If we think about what does blockchain do really well, it secures very small amounts of information and does it in a secure manner. So basically think of a Bitcoin UTXO, right? A Bitcoin UTXO is a very small amount of data, but it could be worth millions, tens of millions of dollars, right? And so because of the blockchain's design with cryptography, with decentralization, with rules and business logic built into the code, we're able to secure that information, that money. But what also is valuable? What's another small piece of data that's valuable? Well, it's your identity. And if you think about it, you have things like a driver's license, your name, your address, your social security number. You have other forms of identity that you might not have thought about, like your Facebook handle or your Twitter handle. And those are actually a form of ID too. Whenever you log into a website with your Twitter ID, that is your Twitter handle being your identity, right? And so that for people, we have all kinds of identity. And we have things too, like cars have serial numbers, books have IBN or ISBN numbers. Lots of things have NFC chips or RFID tags. Those are the IDs for the things, and we have digital things. Computers have MAC addresses, websites have URLs. There is identity in so many things that are intertwined with how we form our world and how it works. And you basically have to have an identity to be able to operate and function in society. There might be some people that don't have an identity. You might know somebody who is able to live in an apartment without identification, able to ride in cars without an identification. But those people rely on other people to rent the apartment, to pay the utility bills, to buy the car and pay for the insurance, and those people have to have identity. It's a crucial part of the world that we live in, and I think that if blockchain is going to integrate into the world that we live in, we need decentralized identity as a part of what we do. And another thing about decentralized, or about identity, it's so important that it's one of the first things that happens when you're a child. Not even a child, when you're a baby. One of the most important official acts is to get a birth certificate. And that's how important identity is. When I was a child, they even went as far as to put our footprints on our birth certificate. And why did they do that? Well, a footprint like a fingerprint, has a unique set of lines that make a unique and random set of lines that helps to identify a person. But a fingerprint or a footprint really is not a person. It's not their identity. It's just a unique identifier. And I mention this because I've heard a lot of people say, well, your blockchain address or your blockchain public key can be your blockchain identity. And I definitely say that's not the case. You can't use an address or a public key as your identity, just like you can't really use a fingerprint or a footprint. Now, a blockchain address or public key is made up of random but unique characters. A fingerprint is random but unique lines, but neither of them have the meaning attached to them the way that we understand identity in today's world, right? And so it has to go beyond just having an address or a public key on the blockchain. We need something better than that for decentralized identity. It's not just what we need, it's crucial for being disruptive. Like I said, big finance has identity services built into it. And it's one of the things that make big finance successful. How is blockchain as a disruptive service going to disrupt big finance when it doesn't offer the same level of utility that big finance does? And it also, you know, if you think about the internet, it's not just banking that has identity intertwined into it. The internet does too. A really good example of when the internet was getting young was eBay. eBay is, you know, essentially, if you think about it, a digital flea market where a buyer and seller get together and they talk about a price and an object and they sell it. But before eBay, nobody wanted to do that on the internet. Nobody wanted to buy and sell. What made eBay so successful was identity and reputation of the sellers. I feel like, and the buyers too, I feel like if I'm a buyer or seller on eBay that I can trust the other buyer or seller because I can see there's 1,000 reviews saying this other person's good. If before eBay, I tried to make a website and said, hey, buy this old item, send me the money, I promise I'll send it to you, maybe not a lot of people would have taken me up on that offer. But after eBay, people were willing to do that because of the identity and reputation. Amazon took it a step further. Instead of just rating the sellers, now you can also rate the items. Each item got an identity and a reputation essentially in Amazon. It got its own little website, its own little review page. And again, if I was going to a regular bookstore and I'm gonna buy a book and read the book, I need to know, is this the type of book that I want to read? Well, now on Amazon, I can read the reviews because that book has its own profile. It has its own reputation. And I can find out, is this the type of book that I would like to read or not? And that made Amazon successful. My point being is that the internet really grew once it was able to come up with effective means for providing identity and reputation. And I believe that blockchain too, once it's able to provide this, will be able to grow. Again, it's not the killer app, but it is a requirement for the killer app, just like reputation and identity was a requirement for eBay, just like it was for Amazon, for people and things, right? So if I've started to convince you, yes, I see it. Identity is important. It's a part of the world. Blockchain has a great system of securing money. Why don't we secure identity that way? Well, there's some things that blockchain does really well that we can do. This is create identities. And the blockchain that I represent, Symbol, has a lot of features built in to be able to do this. We have a naming system. We have an alias system where you can apply aliases to different accounts or tokens. We have the ability to message. We have metadata where two parties can come together and agree on a certain set of data that's applied. We have advanced multi-signature, multi-level multi-signature accounts, which can be used in a creative way to also help us make identity systems. And so as far as being able to create identity on Symbol, wow, we can do that really well. In fact, I don't know of another blockchain where you could do it better than what you can do on Symbol. The tools offered on Symbol for creating identities is the best that I have seen. Now, what about reading data? Once that identity is in the blockchain, you need to be able to read it. Well, at Symbol 2, we have a great system for anybody to be able to read. Every full node on the blockchain has a full decentralized database, and a second database has the blockchain database, but it also has a MongoDB that allows people to read and do API calls to pull out about all this information that you might need. And the third thing we need to do, we need to be able to edit or update information. And again, Symbol with all those tools, messaging, metadata, aliases, creating special tokens, multi-sig, allows us to do a wonderful system where you can edit an identity and decentralized system, right? So where's the problem? The problem is that with identity, you want users to have the power. You don't just want to write someone's name and phone number and address in plain text into a blockchain for everybody to read. Remember when I said that I think that identity is so important? Well, it's so important in some ways, identity is even worth more than money. That's why there is identity theft. Hackers are trying to get people's identity so that they can get their money, or even other things even more important than their money, right? And so that's a big problem. We need a way to secure identities in a way that are secure against for hackers, but we also need to give people back their power. Remember what I said about Twitter and Facebook? They are offering digital identities, not decentralized identities, but digital identities. And it starts with being able to log into websites. It starts with being able to buy things or link things with your Twitter and Facebook profile. But soon it becomes more and more powerful. And I question, like, do we want, as the world becomes more and more digitized and more digital, to have Facebook and Twitter to be the main services that provide identity and start to challenge the government? No. I think it needs to be decentralized identity on the blockchain working with the governments personally. So we need to give people power. They need to be able to delete certain things that are associated with their identity, or permission, who can and cannot see. This is the problem. We can't do that right now with blockchain technology, but hopefully it's coming very soon. And there's especially really exciting technology with zero knowledge proofs that are going to be able to allow that to happen in the future. And at Symbol, we've been looking at that. We have some very exciting things. So I think that it's coming. I think it's going to be big. I think it is a requirement for the next big thing. Now, my name is Jeff McDonald. I am also the co-founder of a company called LuxTag in Malaysia. We've already done multiple blockchain projects with decentralized identity that we've rolled out and made live. You can download our app. It's built on the NIM blockchain. It's worked perfectly. And to that point, I want to say that you want your identity to be perfect. And the NIM blockchain has been running since 2015, has secured billions of dollars of transactions, billions of dollars of value. It's a wonderful blockchain. It doesn't break. It's the type of blockchain architecture that we need to make sure that when something goes on the blockchain, it doesn't get hacked, it doesn't get broken, because identity is so important. So feel free to check us out at nim.io, our new blockchain symbol, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.